But let's head down to Lair. I don't think we ever actually completely finished off Lair 5. And so... Oh, yikes. Hello, friends. Didn't realize we left behind a bit of a welcoming committee that definitely could have gone horribly wrong and would have been one of those classic embarrassing endings to a run, but never didn't have it, of course. Fantastic. And let's just clear out the rest of the level. Can kind of just chill here for the time being, I guess, and let everyone filter in and see how it goes. Fantastic. Some elephants could at least push us off the stairs, but not too concerned immediately about that. And then as these buddies start to surround us is where I begin to think twice about all my actions, but we should, for the most part, be able to just hop away. We're going into unexplored territory, which, even if you're fairly new to DCSS, is probably one of the first things that you learned about the game, to never do so. But hey, we're here to break rules and look cool doing it, so not a problem. More dodge and armor might be nice. It's also increasing those stats. Yeah, not too bad. And the Ring of Flying do come in handy. You were even thinking of saying to drop it because you couldn't think of any terrain coming up. Hey, right? I mean, and chances are we'll never actually need it again. In fact, I shouldn't even be continuing to wear it now, seeing as how I definitely don't really have any recourse in Lair 5. But here we are. Nice seeing some demons. We are finally getting a little bit of our piety back, but I think, you know, on the topic of our flying ring, I'm going to swap back to our willpower just before it becomes a problem. And see how that goes. A Rapier of Distortion. Don't like how close we are to you, my Spriggan pal. In fact, I'm going to go with some unavoidable damage just to make sure we put the nail in that coffin right away. Fantastic. Murdering, just partaking in the cycle of life, and isn't it a beautiful, beautiful thing? It's the circle of life and it moves us all, baby. Hey Brain, how's it going? How have you been, my friend? I hope things are going well on your end. As always here, but not too shabby. Again, very happy to see demons, and I'd like to see a few more if at all possible. In fact, now that I think about it, this might be a character that we take into Abyss for our third rune. I hadn't quite decided on where we wanted to take our third rune, and that's probably going to be the best bet. We'll even have a gateway to it here if we really wanted to change up the general order of things, which I don't really, if we're being honest, but we could, and that's the important part. Just recognizing that we have the ability if we had a little bit of a death wish and all that good stuff. But not too bad. Can you Holy Brand a ranged weapon? You don't remember seeing that before? You can indeed, and that's generally for a 15 rune character that I'm playing with the Shining one, which generally is any melee or ranged character. Even mages, like Shining one is pretty solid for the 15 rune, but I guess mages I usually end up with Go's Egg or Vey. Anyway, that's besides the point. More so, any 15 rune ranged character, I end up trying to find a triple crossbow, getting Holy Brand on that son of a gun, and then you're able to pretty much melt down even the toughest of Panlords. So unless something has changed in recent memory without me being aware of it, then the same should still be true to this very day. And did I never actually officially find my vault entrance? I think I noticed an unexplored spot up here. Oh right, because we had our ranger friend that was causing some problems, shall we say. But hey, let's head back there and we'll see. Repel missiles versus one very, very dedicated frog boy. Not too bad whatsoever. Move the exclusions and let's just finish off fighting all of you sons of guns. I mean, I think we got lucky with our evasion there, but good sign that we're able to take care of a couple of vault guards in close range, because we're about to be seeing a whole lot more where that came from. But before we do so, let's find maybe some scale mail. We'll just look up mail and see what comes up here. Ooh, see that chainmail is kind of nice. The slow could very well suck a whole lot, but does have the resistance, or the fire resistance that I'd be replacing here. Shiny ring mail could technically be equal to what we're currently wearing. Maybe I'd check out. Chainmail is going to be too heavy. Scale mail is on the cusp, and we don't have good stuff. But never mind, I guess we're just going to head up and see what's going on here. Oh, right, we also have these boots. Definitely buy those while I'm here and see if we can't get 2 birds stoned at once. Plus 3 boots of slain. Don't mind if I do. Thank you kindly. I appreciate it. And then, let's see, we're still at 0.4. We do slow down a little bit, but with the speed bow, we can probably get away with that. So the speed weapon isn't the end of the world, and do have Hop. Right at the end of the day, we're already slow. So what's a little bit of additional challenge in that department? But still want to just make sure I'm not taking it too much for granted. And before we head into vaults, let's work out what our plan is in regards to our resistances. I probably want to change things up. If we get rid of the amulet here, we lose 8 armor class, which is not great, that much is a given. Could get more cold resistance. I'd probably actually switch into the regeneration at this stage. That gives us solid resistances except for poison, which hopefully won't be too much of a factor in vaults. Still at 20 armor class, we're looking way better than we did at the start of the stream. So, you know, I don't hate that. And could always get ourselves a potential backup weapon if we can find a good arbalist somewhere in our journeys here. Oh, and I'm so glad that we did end up getting electricity resistance. There's also a 9% chance of the Sentinel's mark coming through, which is a little higher than I would like, but not the end of the world. But I think this leaves us, all in all, in a pretty wonderful spot. And, you know, we'll take a couple of shots, and then we'll hop away, and hopefully be able to take care of most of you on the approach. And that definitely does the trick. Oh, man, I love a good ranged character. I mean, things could still go horribly and drastically wrong. Let's not completely discount that potentiality. But at the moment, I'm feeling pretty good. Things are definitely on the solid side. Ring of the 11 Seas does have some poison resistance. You know what? In case we need an emergency source of poison resistance, we could do a hell of a lot worse than that. So let's try it out. Aha, and there we go. These Yaktars are a little bit more what I was expecting from ranged duels previously. Let's pop around this corner. I think we phone a friend as well, and then by our powers combined, we should be able to take the fight directly to the enemy. And that is not too bad whatsoever. What I should have done, instead of letting Auto Explore take the wheel, was explore into some of these rooms. I didn't know whether this door was safe or not, which is why we had to do that arduous circle around the entire thing, which was less than ideal, shall we say. But hey, it all worked out, so I guess I can't really complain over much at the end of the day here. And definitely get rid of you, the Shining One appreciates that, and I appreciate you, the Shining One. So I'm glad we have this back and forth. Really, Boris? You're gonna show up in my Vaults 1? Yikes. Well, teleport. Take me home, country roads. Thank you. So, what does that mean for you and your family? Oh, a mark trap? Oh no. Boris, ignore that, please. You see nothing, you hear nothing. Just chill, my lich buddy, old pal, as we try to, as safely as possible, explore the rest of the area. You know what? I'm just gonna pop around this corner. And do I use another scroll of teleportation? I probably do, hoping that this one brings us a little bit closer to the stairs. Okie dokie. You wonder how well dropping a silence down and then planting him on the previous floor would go? Interesting. I mean, I don't love having a Boris rampaging on my D13, but it would free up the rest of this zone at least. I mean, we could probably just... I'd rather ignore him on this floor if I'm being honest. And in fact, we can just do this. So maybe we're making a little bit too much of an ado about nothing. And this will kind of work out for the most part. But yes, I definitely don't want to kill Boris yet, especially since we're thinking about heading to the Abyss. Very good chance that they make a resurgence there when we eventually make our way into that realm. And so just trying to get ahead of the curve a little bit, we're going to try to leave Boris alive. Tesla, on the other hand, we probably could kill, and it would be a nice experience, but hey, it is what it is. It's fair enough, just ignore them all together. That's the plan, at least as long as we're able to get away with it. But you do find yourself slightly concerned with floors that have only one entrance, but vault is probably better than dungeon to hide them in. Yeah, if they start camping our stairwell, then we'll just have to go for the fight. I think we could potentially kill Boris. We have incredible 1v1 target damage. A silence would get rid of most of their scary damage. Plus, can always call on our good friend the Shining One to offer us support in our time of need. So, at the end of the day, I think we'll do all right if worse comes to worse, but hopefully just don't have to deal with that whatsoever if all goes according to plan. I think I'm actually going to train even more armor. And that's not too bad. Was there another notice I saw here? No, I think it was just our skills being hit. And then we're just back on the highway here. Fantastic. So yeah, running into him on the way back would be a pain. Yes, especially if I don't pay enough attention to which stairwell we take on our return to the regular dungeon. Could definitely find ourselves in a spot of trouble, but try to keep that at the back of our mind. Fortunately, we're killing things quickly enough that there's some hope. Have I not seen an Ancient Lich since updating to 0.31? I feel like this tile is different. Looking good, my Ancient Lich friend. Not too bad whatsoever. Love to see it. I'd like to take out that gosh darn ghostly boy before we are flayed too much more health, but I guess ship might have already sailed in that regard. What I actually should do is I want to summon another warrior here and then hop out. And then my holy warriors will form the blockade. There we go, the flay does get sent out, and gotta love fighting undead enemies as the Shining One. Love to see it. Ancient Lich I think is still somewhere. How you do? Speaking of the devil. Almost quite literally in this sense, though liches are probably quite insulted by the comparison, seeing as how that is not indeed their classification as far as I'm aware. As for skills here, you'd personally take armor to 16, dodge 14, then work on fighting range to max if possible afterwards. But that's just yourself. Yeah, I'll probably go actually invo max, but fighting definitely will max out. Ranged, you don't get a super measurable increase in damage. Again, triple crossbow might change my mind there. And if we just have nothing to train, then of course, why the heck not? But I think, yeah, invo and fighting being maxed out sounds pretty good for me. Your cleansing flame with max invo becomes just stupidly strong. And, you know, everything else not too shabby in its own right either, to be fair. But I would like this summoning scroll. Probably don't need the Ring of Ice, seeing as how we're kind of stepping away from the Amulet of Elemental Vulnerability. I mean, no promises. Again, we might find ourselves pulled back into the power there, but while we're not worrying about it, we can kind of be a little more casual with our resistance equipment. Man, what can I drop here? Like, this is probably a good time to just take some sips while we do some of that sweet, sweet inventory management. Staff of Air was just a holdover from when we were worried about needing some emergency electricity resistance, but 'tis no longer the case. In fact, that frees up quite a few slots, which is quite nice. Lightning Rod, I actually probably don't want this ring. Yeah, almost definitely not, so we'll just drop that bad boy again before we inevitably forget to do so when we're next desperately searching for some additional backpack space. But, DCSS, what are your thoughts, perchance, regarding a, whatchamacallit, triple crossbow? That's what I'm looking and thinking for here. Some convokers, not too much problem. The one buddy did get phoning a friend in time, but not the end of the world. By Suzanne, I think, phone a friend, and I think we just kill you fast enough. Especially hop, skip, and a jump. Distract you with my angelic pal, and we should be able to take you down as well. Fantastic. That's definitely a relatively scary unique, and there's a good indication as to, yeah, just how strong our 1v1 capabilities are with the Ranger build, so love to see it. We are finally getting some negative impacts from the corrosion on our longbow, going down to -8. Could have been scary there if we weren't already in the final throes of the encounter. Exactly. By Suzanne, indeed. You'd love to see it, folks. But there we go. Yeah, Vault's 2 much, much better here. And I feel like fighting by Suzanne is also a good indicator of our ability to potentially deal with, stop, drop, and roll. With Boris, if absolutely necessary. Well, let's take you upstairs. Yeah, that's exactly what I was worried about. In fact, did we reset this fight? I think we do. Vaults 1. I didn't check the stairwell before heading up, so if we'd walked face first into a Boris, that would have been a well-deserved mistake that could have very easily been fatal. 78 health, we're still not in one-shot range of the Crystal Spear from our Golem buddy, so stick with it in that fight. Unfortunately, we're not forced to make any harder decisions, because that definitely was a possibility there, just put it bluntly. But not too bad. I'm glad that we did sort out a little bit of our defensive capability here, because this very easily could have been a hell of a lot worse. If we were always panicking anytime we were in melee range with a single enemy, then oh boy, this would have been a bit of a slog, but fortunately we're able to face tank just a bit without too much issue. Convoker, you phoned friends. Did nobody show up? Oh, that's so sad. You hate to see it. Yeah, still slowed by our armor here in terms of attack speed, so that's not ideal. Probably means that I won't be switching up to the scale mail. That's why I was checking, because we did see that potential option just before us there. But hey, don't really need it again. At the very least, we're holding our own defensively, so it's not the end of the world by any stretch. And I know headphones. I promise, if you just hold out a little bit longer. I mean, there's no shot, looking at the time, there's no way you make it through the stream, but if we can just hold out hope for a while. My biggest concern with swapping over is volume settings, because there's been a lot of tweaking over time to try and get the balance between music and voice to hopefully an okay spot. I mean, maybe it's still terrible. Again, I'm not an audiophile person, so I'm maybe not the best judge on the matter, I guess, is what I'm going for. But hopefully, if worse comes to worse here and we do need to swap out, that's not going to be a big deal. The only other problem is that I have the exact same model of headphones. In fact, if I grab it here, this lovely set right here, which I bought originally as replacements, but again, with my inability to stop using things until they're shredded to bits, and this one's only mostly shredded to bits and starting to fall apart. Still technically works, but one of the biggest differences between the two is that the noise canceling effect on these no longer really a thing. They're super loose. Everything is definitely shifted over the years. So we'll see if it affects my ability to narrate at all if we happen to require a swap. Because I'm guessing the music will be a lot louder for me than it is currently. Oops. What was I even cast in there? Well, no idea what action we just tried to take. Hopefully nothing too serious, but we're gonna walk backwards and let these buddies approach us once again. There we go. That's a little more manageable. You're just glad range attacks in melee don't provoke attacks of opportunity like it does in D&D, at least older. You don't do a lot of 5e. Yeah, no opportunity attacks in 5e, but it is disadvantage if you're engaged in any melee combat. Not just the target that you're aiming for, but if anyone's in your threat area. So still not great, for sure. And yes, I'm glad that's not a consideration here. I could imagine that was a conversation that was had with the in the DCSS dev team. Because I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's definitely something you could do, you know, kind of force players to hybridize a little bit more, have a melee weapon on hand for when enemies get into melee range. But I think it's nice that we have the kind of three strict paths here. We have spellcasters, melee, and rangers, and in my opinion, they're all in a really nice spot in the current version of the game. I think rangers for the longest time did have some of that forced hybridization, though it wasn't due to difficulties attacking melee combatants, and instead it was lack of ammunition. So that's why version 0.28, was that when the ranged change happened? Was a pretty great day for anyone who enjoys playing ranged characters, because it finally meant that you could fully commit and you could use your bow the entire time. You weren't constantly homing and hawing and generally deciding that you can't afford to use your favorite weapon because it's just not feasible and all that. So very happy with where everything is at. I know that I feel like I don't necessarily share that opinion with the entire player base, and you know, as with most of the updates, things can be a little divisive depending on the person. Again, I've probably shed light on my personal opinion on that matter enough times over the months or years here, so don't need to fully go into it again. But at the end of the day, I always like trying out new things, and I'm pretty happy overall. So I'm very, very much in a good spot in regards to the ranged here, but fantastic. We finish off Vaults 4. 0.28 or 0.29. Twitch thinks you're trying to do a command. Put in multiple quotations there. Yeah, right? It was somewhere around there, though. I feel the same way. It's funny thinking back and trying to remember when changes happened, especially pivotal ones. Like removal of food wasn't that long ago. It was like 0.25 or something like that. Feels like a lifetime ago, but truly has not been too long.